Hello students, we will continue with our Greek grammar classes again, and today we're going to deal with chapter 2 where we will study about diphthongs, breathings and other signs. So first of all, we will see what a diphthong is, okay? Diphthongs. So what are diphthongs? Diphthongs are basically two vowels coming together to produce a sound. Okay, you know what vowels are, right? In English we have like vowels A, E, I, O, U, and the others are called consonant. So sometimes in a word vowels come together, and when they come together they produce a different sound, and that is what we will be dealing with here in diphthongs. So diphthongs, for example, we have different kinds of combinations of sounds, such as AI, alpha and iota coming together, epsilon and iota coming together, eta and iota coming together, and omicron and iota coming together, and omicron and upsilon coming together, and we also have E and U coming together, eta and U coming together, then at last we have U and iota coming together. So this, how do we pronounce this when they come together? Okay, the way to pronounce it is, you pronounce this, the sound, the English sound, as in A-I-S-L-E. So, how do we pronounce this? You know, pronunciation is very difficult, especially for us, those who are in Northeast, but you can always check the Google or the dictionary on how to pronounce it, okay? So, for example, this one, it's pronounced as I. So, the AI has a sound I. And then EI, they will have a sound very similar to veil. Okay, so you should not differentiate between this short and E. Just pronounce it as veil. And then we have oil, which sounds like O-I-L, oil. You all know oil. So oil. And then you have another word where you combine alpha and epsilon, and this is pronounced as like Faust. Okay, and then you have this one, which is pronounced as R-O-U-T-E. Now this, we have, you know, even in the world, American has a different way of pronouncing this one, but not all of the Americans pronounce it, and then the British also have a way of pronouncing it, and even India. But almost all of them, they will pronounce this as root. But in some part of America like the New York or New Jersey, they will pronounce it as route. But usually we have to pronounce it like this, root. So these OUs have that root sound. And then we have this one where we pronounce it as fuet. And this is quit. So basically diphthongs are, it's very easy, nothing to be confused about. When we talk about diphthongs, you just take a vowel together. So it can be a different combination of vowels. Okay, so that's just about diphthongs. Now another important point that we will be covering in lesson number 2 is what we call the breathing sign. This is very important in Greek. It's not the usual, but not this breathing, but there is a sign. You know, you might have noticed that in your Greek alphabet you will not find the word or the alphabet H. You will not find this, right? But The Greek alphabet has a way of compensating for this sound. And basically, when you write a word which should be producing an H sound, so what you do is, on top of a vowel that produces what should be producing the H sound, you just put a breathing mark, which I will show eventually. So we have two kinds of breathing mark. The first is called rough breathing, where the sign indicates that you should be producing the H sound. Okay, and then we have the smooth breathing sign. So regardless of whether a vowel contains a rough breathing or a smooth breathing, a breathing sign is always put. So for example, if we take the Greek word article, okay, you will eventually learn that this is an article omicron. So the article is actually sound like ho. But how do you make this sound? So in order to make the H sound, you just have to put a mark, almost like an apostrophe mark, on top of the O. See where that thing is pointing? It is pointing to this side. Okay. So whenever you have a sign like this, and then the curve points to the left side, on the right side. So you have to know that this sign represents the H sound. So you produce it as ho. You pronounce it as ho, not o. However, in certain case where you have an o, in which you should not pronounce the H sound, you have to write the sound which is moving away. Which is the opposite side of this one. Okay. So when you have an inverted or a sign that points towards your right, left and right is very difficult, but I will say like this, or this side. If it doesn't open to this side, then you simply do not make the H sound. And this is called the smooth breathing. However, when you open the sound like this, it means that you have to pronounce it as H, ho. So this is called the rough breathing. Okay. It's not very difficult. Now, there are certain rules where you have to follow this breathing. Rule number 1. When vowels are written, it is a must to put the breathing sign on top of the vowel, regardless of whether it's a smooth breathing. So we have alpha, iota, epsilon, iota, and then we also have eta, we also have omega, we also have omicron, okay, and then we also have epsilon. So these are the vowels that we have in Greek, right? So regardless of whether these vowels are smooth or rough, whether they should be pronounced as ha, whether they should be pronounced as he, or without just an a, just an e, just an iota, just he, or omega, ho, whether they should be pronounced with the word hh. Regardless of that, you have to make a sign here. So, for example, you want to pronounce it, you want to make the sound h, ha, you have to add like this. But even if it is not going to be h, you still need to show that this is not an h. Regardless of whether they make an h sound, you always need to show. And I'm very strict with this, okay? If I see you not making any sign, then I will deduct your mark. Now, another rule is, if it is just a single vowel, like this, the sign must always be on top, right on top. Okay, but if it is a diphthong, like AI, then the sound needs to be on the second vowel. The second vowel of this word, okay, of the diphthongs. So those are one more rules. For example, we have the Greek word So this is it simply means I find. So this one, it should be pronounced as heurisco. Now where should we put the sign? Yes, where should we put the rough breathing sign? Yes, we should put it on the second sound. Why? Because that's the rules. The rules state that if it is a diphthong, the sign should be on the second. But if it is just only one word, then the sign should be here. Okay. Suppose this wasn't a rough breathing and it was a smooth breathing, you would still put it on top, but then the sign will have to face that side. So those are the rules. Now there is another aside from the vowels, there is another word in Greek where you have to show the rough breathing sign. Okay, and that one is R. R. For example, in rema, which is word, you have to put this one. You have to put the sign to show that there is an H, rema. But we don't pronounce the H. But we have to let the reader know that there is an H before the rema. Okay, it should be pronounced as simply rema. But then we have to show that there is a rough breathing there on top of the R. Okay, so there is another one. And in terms, whenever there is a capital letter, when a vowel starts with a capital letter, like the name Vishnu, the breathing sign should always be before the capital letters. So those are very easy rules. And but however, if there is a diphthong where the first vowel is a capital sign, like for example the sun, U, upsilon, uyos. How do we do this? Yeah, same thing. The breathing sign is written over the second. Okay, uyos. So those are the breathing rules. It's very simple and easy. If you cannot understand it, watch the video again, then finally you understand it. Now another thing is what we call the iota subscript. So all the vowels, certain vowels, okay, all the vowels, let's say, yeah, even all the vowels, but certain vowels tend to have this, what we call the iota subscript. Iota subscript is it should have some effect way back in the past, but these days it doesn't have any more effect. It's just there to show that we know that there is an iota subscript there. So in certain word, like for example, A, O, omega, you will have a small sign like this, a small I on the bottom of the vowels. These small signs are called iota subscript. They should always be written, okay, but they should not be pronounced. For example, in a word like RK, you will have a small iota subscript like that, and dative, we have not learned about dative, but dative tends to have this. So like this one, iota. This is an iota subscript. It's a sign of like rough breathing almost, but it's not pronounced anymore. It's just there to be written. Then after this, one of the important thing about Greek symbol, you have to know the punctuation. Okay, punctuation. Punctuation in English, like for example, like the comma, full stop, what else? Semicolon and question mark. So this one in English and Greek, we will see what's the difference. So in English, comma is just written like this, right? Yes. And also in Greek, comma is the same thing. Full stop in Greek, in English like this, and also in Greek, full stop along the line, right? But semicolon is where they differ. So you have the semicolon. Is this semicolon or colon? Yeah, I think it is semicolon. And also we have the colon. But in Greek, the semicolon is only one dot above the line. So this is the line where you're drawing, and this one. So for example, if you write RK and you want to produce a semicolon, in English you have to do like this, but in Greek you just simply do like this. Okay, so there is the difference. And question mark is in English like this one, but in Greek this semicolon mark is the question mark. So do not forget, when you see sign like this in Greek, that means usually they are question mark. Not usually, always they are question marks. Okay, so it's not very difficult there again. And then another thing is we have what we call the Ellison. Ellison, in certain words, vowels tends to drop out. You know, we took a shortcut. Okay, like the English, you will take a shortcut when you can say, or when you say like I cannot, instead of I cannot, you say I can't, I didn't. All those, the vowels tend to drop out. So in Greek also, there are certain cases where the vowels dropped out. And whenever a vowel drops out, Ellison takes place. Okay, Ellison happens. So like this, for example, Allah. So in order to do a shortcut there, they drop this one out, and then they write it like this, with an apostrophe sign. Okay, or like a sign, not exactly apostrophe, but like this sign. And all the same thing happens. Dr. So the A drops out, then this one becomes. Whenever you see a sign like this, then usually you will know that there is a vowel which dropped out. Okay, so this is called Ellison. Ellison happens when a vowel drops out at the end of the word. Remember that. And also after Ellison, we have another one, what we call the diaresis. D-I-A-E-R-E-S-I-S, diaresis. So diaresis is also a way of showing that you know this vowel has a different sign. Okay, so in certain cases you will find on top of a vowel, sign like this, two dots. You will see this two dot sign. This sign is called diaresis. What is the purpose of that? The purpose is to show that this should be not silent, but they should be pronounced. They should be stressed. Okay, the word you pronounce should be showing. You can actually you have to pronounce it in such a way that this word comes out. So we'll give an example and you will know it very well. For example, in English, we have the word Naive. And then on top of the I, you will have this diaresis. So, for those who are not knowledgeable, they will simply say knave. They will simply pronounce it as knave. But to know, for those who know that this is a diaris word, they will pronounce it as naive. 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 Okay, so you have a three syllable. Naive, not knave. And also in Greek, let's give an example. Where is the Greek? Okay, we have this is a capital. The smaller letter is this one. Remember? Okay. So we have E-S-A-I-A-S, Isaias, which is a Greek word for Isaiah. So here on top of the I, we have a DRS. So how do we pronounce it? You know, we should pronounce it as what? Isaias. Isaias, not Isaias. Okay, so it's just simply a mark that lets you know that you have to stress the pronunciation of this particular vowel. And accents, you will find the accent like this one, and then also you find the circumflex like this sign, you know. These are all, and then also a cute sign. These are all signs, small signs, which helps you in pronouncing the Greek word correctly. It may be difficult right now, but as you eventually learn it, you will realize, you will notice those marks, and then you should know that it helps you to pronounce it in a different, not exactly different, but in a particular way. Okay, but you should know that they don't really touch any important part in the translation itself. It just tells you how to pronounce it. Okay, now yes, stress is very important, especially when you are writing or when you are reading. You should let others know that you're stressing. Your word contains a long vowel, a shorter vowel, all those. So there is a comma, there is a colon, all these kinds of things. This kind of whole, the rough breathing, the smooth breathing. Stressing where you should stress on the DRSs or whether there's an ellison. These are all very important. Okay, so learn it, know it. Now, regarding the assignment for you, I have given you 3 assignments on this one. If you look at your handout, you will see an assignment. The first assignment is I have given you a transliteration. Okay, transliteration, which means I have converted the Greek word to English. So, English, this is the English one. NRK, and you will find this one, this kind of signal. What do you need to do? You have to convert this into the Greek. So the Greek for E is this one, and the Greek for N is this one. Okay, and then RK, A, R. See this long sign? This is a long sign. It's a mark of a long sign, so you use this long sound. And then here you will find an I within bracket. This is to indicate iota subscript. So you will find this one like this. You will write it. So I want you to write those exercise, all this NRK and hologos, Chi, hologos, and prostontion, Thon, THON. How will you write this in Greek? T, theta, epsilon, omicron, Thon. Okay, and so like this, you write all the transliteration. Be very careful with the long sound. What is the long sound of this one? This one. What is the short sound of this one? This one. What is the short sound of this one? What is the short sound of this one? This one. What is the long sound of this one? This one. Okay. So be careful to know the long sound and the short sound. Write it carefully and correctly. And also, in the exercise number 2, you have the capital. I have given you a capital, which I want you to convert. In small letters. So this one will be O, P, O, U, O, and this one will be G, gamma, alpha, GAR, gar. So, like that you need to do. And then in the last assignment for number 3, I have given you John chapter 1 verse 1, NRK and hologos, Chi, hologos, and prostontion. I want you to read this carefully. Okay, I want to hear your pronunciation on this one and record yourself and send it to me. So those are the things that we learn in lesson 2. Lesson 3, we're going to start to learn about the verb. So it's getting a little bit technical as we go on lesson 3. These are what you should know, the preliminary. Even lesson 1 where we talk about the alphabets, the small and sign, the small and the capital letters. Know them precisely, know them carefully, learn it by heart. And also know about these signals and signs, okay? The sign, the breathing. Rough breathing is very, very important. So, be sure to do it and take care. Thank you so much.